welcome back to another episode of Bringing the Forgotten
Part 3 of the
Kings to
Blender
life. Sorry, I did not mean to start that yet. So this series is my learning Blender, and eventually to 3D model a scene of an NFT that I have called The Forgotten Kings, and it's based around swords in epic environments. And here is my progress so far on my sword. I think it looks pretty awesome. Not quite what I need for the project I'm doing, but it is teaching me a lot about how to use Blender specifically to make swords. Next, we are going to be learning how to make the stone that this sword is mounted into, which will be handy because the scene that I am working on also is mounted in the ground. So very handy. I can see some snow effect here, weather, that'll be awesome. All of that I'm needing. And so my plan here is to finish following this tutorial to finish out all of this, and then from there modify it as needed to get my scene that I am looking for, which is this right here. These are the Forgotten Kings NFTs, swords in rather epic environments, and I will show you mine here real quick. That would be this one right here, number 59. This is ultimately what I will end up with, is some kind of a scene like this in a 3D environment. And yeah, so that is my project, and that's what we're currently working on. So let's continue this video. We finished up the last video where we were putting on these glowing runes. And so now this video will begin working on the stone and the scenery. And I'm not sure, but there's quite a few other videos to continue with. So yeah, let's get on with it. I did want to play this video from its beginning just because it shows exactly what the final product is going to look like, which looks pretty awesome and probably better than mine will. So we'll see.
In part 3 of the Blender Fast Track series, we'll be building out the environment. We will go step by step as we apply a cinematic look to our render. We will build out the environment utilizing the included rock kit. Be sure to grab all the free downloads, the link is in the description. Then we will add a God Ray effect and finish up our scene with some basic camera animation and integrate a Mixamo character. It took me years of struggling before I was comfortable enough building out my first environment, which is why we at cgfasttrack.com are really passionate about simplifying the process and building the courses that we wish we had when we first started. If you would like to get to know me, there'll be a link in the description of my demo reel. With that said, let's get going. So we're going to start putting the cinematic look on our render on our sword here. This is essentially a two-step process. One, there's going to be a color grade, and two, there's going to be this HDRI setup that's going to allow us to have this blurred out background. So step one is to set up our camera. And what we need to do here is get to know our camera right here. So this little triangle thing that we've been ignoring this whole time is our camera. So to start using this, what we need to do is look through it. And if we do have the view, viewport, and camera, you can also hit number pad 0 on your keyboard. And there we go. So now we're essentially in like photography mode. And if I move around the viewport, you notice the camera doesn't come with it, right? So the fix for that is we're going to do viewport, camera. And then if we hit N on a keyboard to get our side properties right here, so we haven't used this, I think, at all yet. And what this is essentially just quick properties for things that are in a view, primarily the camera. We go up to view here and go to camera to view, lock view or view lock right here, camera to view. It's now going to be locked to our viewport movement. So now we can frame up our camera. We can't use this, I think, at all yet. And what this is essentially just quick properties for things that are in a view, primarily the camera. We go up to view here and go to camera to view, lock view or view lock right here, camera to view. It's now going to be locked to our viewport movement. So now we can frame up our camera. I'm going to select our sword here, hit Q, frame selected. There we go. And then what we're going to do here is set up our resolution. So I'm going to go to image outputs, or output properties here. And we're going to do 1080 by 1350, which would just be a nice Instagram resolution. And now what we want to do is set up our interface in a way that makes it easy for us to work, because we want to be able to set up our camera composition and still be able to work around the viewport. Say we want to come over here and adjust a light, we have to move our camera currently to do that, which we don't want to do. We want to frame our shot and then don't touch the framing anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and frame up my shot just like this. And what I'm going to do here is set up my interface. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself some more room over here. And then what I'm going to do here is right click on this little sidebar right here, right click and then do vertical split. And then I'm going to split my interface like this. I'm going to go ahead and click. And there we go. So now we have two different viewports. One we're going to use for our camera, one we're going to use for working. And we're going to use this one over here for working. So I'm going to hit N and then turn off camera to view. And right here, right click and then do vertical split. And then I'm going to split my interface like this. I'm going to go ahead and click. And there we go. So now we have two different viewports. One,
Okay, so this is neat, being able to move the camera like this. Hang on, I got something going on with my microphone button there. There we go. All right, so I was looking at this the other day, not necessarily at the camera, but how to frame a shot. Because it seemed like very grainy. It was kind of far away. And I didn't like how it looked, and I wasn't quite sure how to change that. Hang on just a moment. All right. Just putting out on a few social medias. Okay. So, vertical split. And then we just place that there. Okay. I'm going to have to, there. Oh, there we go. I didn't know we could do that quite like that. Oh, I can do that. Yeah.
We're going to use for our camera, one we're going to use for working. And we're going to use this one over here for working, so I'm going to hit N, and then turn off camera.
All right. So over here we go. N, view, turn off camera to view. Okay. No, not B, N. There we go.
Camera to view, and that's just going to allow me to move around like this. So now we can move around our camera like this. We can move around our light and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and clean up.
Okay. See, I like that part right there, where I can now move this here, he said. Yes, come on. I know I can do it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and I can actually see how that moving the camera over there. Yeah, I really like having that ability right there. That's cool. Okay.
Up this area over here, all this UI stuff up here, we just turn off. So we just go to view, turn off toolbar, we can turn off tool settings, we can turn off adjust last operation, and then if we
View, toolbar, adjust last operation.
go all the way over here, these two options right here, if we like select sort right here, if I turn this off, it'll turn off all of our gizmos. If I turn this off, it'll turn off all of our ornaments. And then what we can do is just simply go to view, and then we'll go to, and then what we need to do is go to cameras, and then frame camera bounds. We can also just hit home on the keyboard as well. And that's going to lock up the view like this. And then what we do is shut off all this stuff up here and down there as well. So we're going to select our camera, go to camera right here. And these are going to be our camera properties. The most important one that we're going to get to know is going to be our focal and then frame camera bounds. We can also just hit home on the
View cameras, frame camera bounds. Okay.
keyboard as well. And that's going to lock up the view like this. And then what we do is shut off all this stuff up here and down there as well. So we're going to select our camera, go to camera right here. And these are going to be our camera properties. The most important one that we're going to get to know is going to be our focal length right here. So if we want to do like a wide angle lens, we can do that. 50 millimeter, 90 millimeter. I'm not going to get into focal lengths too much right now. We're going to stick with 50 millimeter, which is just a good standard portrait lens. And then we'll go down to viewport display, and we'll come all the way down here and just turn opacity up on this guy right here. And that's going to turn off this right here. And that'll just allow us to properly frame our camera. Great. And the next step.
What? I missed that part. Opacity? I don't see an opacity. No.
Too much right now. We're going to stick with 50 millimeter, which is just a good standard portrait lens. And then we'll go down to viewport display, and we'll come all the way down here and just turn opacity up.
Oh. Why does mine say passepartout? That is not. Oh, I see. Okay.
On this guy right here. That's going to turn off this right here. And that'll just allow us to properly frame our camera.
Yeah.
Right? And then next up, we're
okay.
going to set up our HDRI. For me, the toughest part about learning 3D modeling when I first started was following along with the video.
HDRI.
It was very easy to miss this button,
High
very easy to miss that button, and before you know, you have to stop,
resolution
rewind,
image.
and struggle to find just the next step to the process. This is a brutally exhausting process, which is why we at cgfasttrack.com built a step-by-step screenshot application, and we put it into every single one of our courses. This would have saved me so much time and frustration, and makes it so much easier and enjoyable to learn 3D animation. After you're done watching the video here on YouTube, click the link in the description and follow along there. So the problem right now, if we go ahead and do render image, this is not going to look at all like our current render. So this doesn't look anything like this, and that's because we are currently on material preview. We need to work on render preview, which is going to be this guy right here. And with our Minecraft scene, what we did was we came in here, went to scene world, and then used HDRIs right here. This again is getting into material preview. We can't actually use this again if we go to render right here. It doesn't actually show up right here. And this is a this is a bummer that Blender doesn't allow this. They might be implemented in the future. I'm not sure. I go through a hacky way to get that to work in the future course. For now, we're going to set up our own custom HDRI. So we're going to leave both of these on, and we're going to stay in render mode. What we're going to do is we're going to switch over to our shading tab.
Wait, okay. I wasn't paying attention. I was messing around with the sword.
And this is a this is a bummer that Blender doesn't allow this. They might be implemented in the future. I'm not sure. I go through a hacky way to get that to work in the future course. For now, we're going to set up our own custom HDRI. So we're going to leave both of these on, and we're going to stay in render mode.
Okay, what was that? Oh, scene world, scene lights. Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to switch over to our shading tab and set up our HDRI. Specifically, we're going to go into render mode over here as well. And then what we're going to do is go switch over our object. So instead of working with our object shader networks right here, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to world. And we're going to do view and then just frame all. And what we're looking at right now is basically our background. And what we can do
Oh, okay.
here is change our background color. And
Somehow I think I messed something up. I don't think I'm looking at the same thing he is. Okay.
this is essentially how we like. And then what we're going to do is go over. I'm not sure. I go through a hacky way to get that to work in the future course. For now, we're going to set up our own custom HDRI. So we're going to leave both of these on, and we're going to stay in render mode. What we're going to do is we're going to switch over to our shading tab and set up our HDRI. Specifically, we're going to go into render mode over here as well. And then what we're going to do is go switch over our object.
Okay. So, Okay, so he said render mode, which is that one. Is it that? Yeah, okay. Object mode. Okay.
So instead of working with our
Okay, but he selects that.
object shader networks right here, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to world. And we're going to do
Ah, okay. Object world. Okay, there we go. That's the part that I missed.
the view and then just a frame all. And what we're looking at right now is basically our background. And what we can do here is change our background color. And this is essentially how we light our environment. This is how we, if we
Okay.
want things to be brighter, we can brighten
So
them up just like this. And
background.
what we want to do here is bring in a custom HDRI that we're going to use with
Ooh,
this.
dear.
So we're going to use an HDRI from this website right here. This is called SIBL. And it's a free resource just like HDR Haven. If you go to SIBL right here, archive, the one I found that worked really, really well for this scene right here was just this one right here. This is all located in the download, so we already have this. So you can feel free to. So we're going to use an HDRI from this website right here. This is called SIBL. And it's a free resource just like HDR Haven. If you go to SIBL right here, archive, the one I found that worked really, really well for this scene right here was just this one right here. This is all located in the download, so we already have this. So you can feel free to experiment with a bunch of different.
All right, so let's try that. Smart IBL. HDR Labs. I don't know which one he said to get. SIBL. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Archive. Loading. He said this Chiricahua narrow path, I think it was.
HDRIs. And I'm going to go ahead and jump to my scene over here.
Yes, okay. So it's the Chiricahua narrow path. I wonder why this one works the best as far as lighting. That's kind of curious. Alright, where am I at? Forgotten Kings. Save. Up. Decompress. Okay. Alright, so now we can continue. Nope, that was not the one that I wanted to do that with. There. Okay. You. Make that the proper size. Okay.
So in our downloads under HDRI, we have that HDRI download. And I'm going to go and copy that path right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, and I'm going to do texture. And then we're not going to use image texture here. We're going to use environment texture. Because we're going to use an environment. We're going to open that, and then we're going to go ahead
and... Okay. So back up. What happened?
go to that path. So in our downloads under HDRI, we have that HDRI download. And I'm going to go and copy that path right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, and I'm going to do texture. And then we're not going to use image texture here. We're going to use environment texture.
Ah,
so we're going to use
add environment texture. Okay. That's what I missed. I'm not doing great today. I'm doing fine, but I'm just not focusing on this right. Texture? Environment texture? Yeah. Alright. So there. Just back up to make sure.
So in our downloads under HDRI, we have that HDRI download. And I'm going to go and copy that path right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, and I'm going to do texture. And then we're not going to use image texture here. We're going to use environment texture.
Okay.
So we're going to use an environment. We're going to open that, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to that path. And then the HDRI.
Alright. Open. Go to... Yeah, Forgotten Kings. Original. Chiricahua narrow... Ooh, there's a bunch of them.
All right, that we're going to bring in is just this one right here. 3K.HDR. Open.
Okay. The HDR. Okay.
And try and drop them in there. And there we go. Now
okay, cool. Oh, why does mine not... Maybe it's not rendering?
we can, rotate around, and we have our own custom
No. I mean, I see it. I can see what it's looking at, but why is it so grainy? Oh, no, don't want that. No, don't want that. Why is mine so grainy and his is not? Linear pre-multiplied. I have no idea what any of that does.
Open that, and then we go ahead and go to that path. And then the HDR that we're going to bring in is just this one right here. 3K.HDR. Open. Try and drop them in there. And there we go. Now we can, rotate around.
Okay. Sounds all great, but again, why is mine... whoops. Why is mine all grainy? That makes no sense. Maybe that's the wrong... Oh, well, 8K. Oh, I brought in the HDR. Narrow path preview. Okay. So thumb, no, 8K. Maybe that's the one I was supposed to use. I don't know. Pure path IBL. Let me try the 8K one. I mean, at this point, it's just fiddling to figure out what the issue is. What were we in? Shading? Yeah. Open JPEG. There we go. Okay. Much better. All right. Yes. So now I'm seeing kind of what he's seeing. Yes. Okay. There we go. Internet U. All right, come on. What are you doing? Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, very nice.
And we have our own custom HDRI in here, which is pretty cool. And this one, I picked this one out specifically because it worked really well with this Sword and Stone. We got like a rocky environment with the sky coming down, which turned out really, really nice. The problem now is we want to frame this up, right? So we want to be able to rotate this HDRI around. And to do that, we need two more nodes. We're going to need our mapping node and our texture coordinates. So I'm going to go to add, we're going to go to vector, and then mapping, right here. So it's the same mapping node we've been working with to scale up and down and move our textures. We're going to add, we're going to go input, and then we're going to do texture coordinate. And the reason why we're using texture coordinate here is because we need to generate UVs. We're going to choose generated, we're going to put that in a vector. So what is all this stuff? So the world doesn't actually have UVs, and we've been using the UV node to do that. So we use texture coordinate to generate the UVs for this. And now what we essentially do is, rotate this around like this. If we go to Z and just click and drag, we can now rotate around our HDRI. And if I just do view, go to cameras or viewport and then camera, we can look at this from our camera.
All right, just a moment. I'm messing things up. So I need to add vector, what was that? Mapping? Yeah. Add vector mapping, and then there was another one there.
Textures. We're going to add, we're going to go input, and then we're going to do texture coordinate. And the reason
input texture coordinate. Add input texture coordinate over here. Okay.
Why we're using texture coordinate here is because we need to generate UVs. We're going to choose generated, we're going to put that in a vector. So what is all this?
Generated to vector. Yes. And then vector to vector. Okay.
So the world doesn't actually have UVs, and we've been using the UV node to do that. So we use texture coordinate to generate the UVs for this. And now what we essentially do is, rotate this around like this. If we go to Z and just click and drag, we can now rotate around our HDRI. And if I just do view, go to cameras or viewport and then camera, we can look at this from our camera. And now what we can do is just rotate this around. You can see here that we can now light our scene like this.
Pretty awesome. Oh, okay.
I'm just going to rotate this around like.
Hang on, let me play around with that. Because you said light the scene with that. So, like right now, it's got kind of a darkish look. I see. Yeah. The light is moving across the sword. Okay, so I would want more of the brighter side, so we want that to be over there. Okay.
Right there, leave it somewhere right there, and I'm going to have this at 448. Yours might be a little bit different depending on how you have yours framed up. In the next chapter, what we want to do is blur out this background to mimic a cinematic, depth of field look, and we'll do that next.
Okay.
So this is the HDRI that we just brought into our scene. What we want to do is blur this out for the background. So what we want to do is use this HDRI for the reflections to keep those nice and sharp, and then use this one for the background, which is going to be a blurred out version.
Oh,
so it's going to be a little bit tricky. The technique that we're going to use here is a little bit intermediate. I'll try to explain it the best I can.
What did I do? I didn't want to click that. Okay, so we're going to use one for the reflections. Hang on, I want object. I want that more shiny. Roughness. Oh, I can't really control the roughness. That was a different attribute. Okay, so I'm gonna have to be okay with that. I'm sure there's a way to change that. I just don't know how.
But what we want to do here is copy these two nodes, and we're just going to copy them. So we'll do Control C and then Control V. And I'm just going to move those down like that. We're going to plug this in, plug that in right there, and we're going to plug this one in right there. So now we have two setups. This one will be our reflection. This one will be our blurred background. I'm going to go to dialog box, and then I'm going to choose blurred. HDR. So we'll do Control C and then Control V. And I'm just going to move those down like that. We're going to plug this in. Right there, and we're going to plug this one in right there. So now we have two setups. This one will be our reflection. This one will be our blurred background. I'm going to go to dialog box, and then I'm going to choose blur.hdr.
Right,
so we'll do Control C and then Control V.
Sorry, I hope I didn't
just going to move those down like that. We're going to plug this in, plug that in right there, and we're going to.
Okay, so we got two. We got vector. Okay, that's cool. You can plug in both images. All right, vector, vector, and then
plug this one in right there. So now we have.
Oh wait.
Two setups. This one will be our reflection. This one will be our blurred background. I'm going to go to dialog box, and then I'm going to choose blur.hdr. So we'll do Control C and then Control V. And I'm just going to move those down like that. We're going to plug this in, plug that in right there, and we're going to plug this one in right there. So now we have two setups. This one will be our reflection. This one will be our blurred background. I'm going to go to dialog box, and then I'm going to choose blur.hdr. So all SIBL.
Okay.
HDRIs come with these blurred HDRIs, which is really handy. You can always like take them in Photoshop or something like that and blur any HDRI out. And now you can see, okay, now this is looking pretty good. The problem is our reflections become pretty blurred out. And, you know, it doesn't really have that big of an effect right now, but if I come over to my layout tab here, and if I just zoom in here so we can see this a little better, so you can see these reflections are getting really, really blurred. And if I, you know, put in the reflections here, sharper